In my previous video, I shared the information about how to pass data from one activity to another. And in this presentation, I will be showing that how can you send a return value from the second activity to the first activity. So if you see the diagram over here, this is my main activity, this is my second activity. The main activity will give a call to intent, and the intent will pass two information. One is the data, and there's something called request code. We will see what this is all about. So this data will come to the bundle within the second activity, and the main activity is passing two data, so it will be stored into keys. Okay, so after these two keys got generated in the bundle, we'll perform some activity in this some operation in this activity, and whatever the result will be generated, the second activity will give a call to a method called setResult, and that setResult will again forward back the value to the main activity, and within the main activity there will be a method called onActivityResult, within which this return value will be saved. So this is how you are going to send data from one activity, and then again you are going to receive the data from the second activity to the first activity. So that is what the whole thing is going to be. So let's move to the program part. Let's see the first activity. This is where you are going to take two numbers as input. So if you want to see the emulator also, so let me run the program so that you can see it working live. Okay, and these two inputs will be taken in your main activity. Here I have got something called toolbar, which I will be talking about in my next video, and there are two edit texts there, so those two input will be taken. The result will be shown in the text view. There is a button, and since there are two edit texts there, so two integer variables are also there. After the initial typecasting is done, the user will click the button over here. Once the user does that, it will give a call to a method by the name called sum. Here I am receiving two input from the edit text. I am typecasting them, and I'm storing in the variable. And this is a place where I create an intent reference, as you saw in the image. So you have to create one intent reference so that you can connect to this particular activity. And for that reason, I have created an intent, and it is supposed to connect to the second class. So that's a new activity. So that means since it's an activity, so naturally it will be having an XML file as well, and this is XML file. So if you go and see the XML file, nothing much. A text view is there, but basically I'm not using this text view for any purpose. So when I'm passing the value from the main activity to the second activity, I will be using the intent.putExtra. This is my key, and this is my value. So intent took all the inputs. Now the time of dispatchment comes. Had it been that only result would have been shown over here, and there would have been no point of sending value from second activity to the main activity, then we would have used a method called startActivity. But since this time the value will be coming back to the main activity, so we won't be using that method. Instead, we will be using a method called startActivityForResult, and this method has got two arguments. Compared to the first one, startActivity, there was only one argument, that was called intent. But in case of startActivityForResult, you will be using two parameters. The first parameter is the intent, which has got both the keys, and there is something called a request code, an arbitrary number, which will later on help us to understand that the request has come from this activity only. So this is something which will be used for acknowledgement part later on. Okay, so this particular argument will now get to the second activity. So on reaching the second activity, you need to have something called bundle, because you are passing the data from first activity to second activity, and for that reason we will be using something called bundle. Okay, and if you see the diagram, even over here we have a bundle, and within the bundle we have got both the keys which is coming. So in order to retrieve both the keys, we will be using the method called getIn, because the type of value that has been sent is of integer type, and since this is a particular integer type variable, so naturally here we are writing the default value. An integer value will be represented by 0. Okay, please consult my previous video where we have used the string variable as argument while passing between activities. Okay, So respectively, both the numbers which user has given will be stored in each of these particular variables, and then I'm just performing a function to calculate the sum, and here the value will be generated and that value will come over here. Now comes the time when this particular activity will be dispatching value to the previous activity, and for that reason we will be using something called set result. Okay, set result has got a constant. The constant is result. Okay, this is a constant. If you click this one, you will find that this constant belongs to the class activity.java, which is having a value called -1. It means that the operation is successful. So this is a constant that will be used in the class activity.java to symbolize that everything is going pretty fine. Okay, so I'm using the result underscore OK, and along with that I'm also passing the value I, which is my intent. So this set result will send back the value to the first argument, and once the value is been dispatched to the first activity specific method will be there, that is called onActivityResult, that will be getting in picture. So it is something like a callback mechanism where the second result knows where this particular value will be sent, and main activity also knows where it is supposed to receive. So it will receive by a method called onActivityResult, which will be having three arguments. The first argument is the request code that would been sent by the main activity. The second argument is the result code that is coming from the second activity, and the third one is the intent data that has been sent by the second activity. So all the things will be stored over here respectively. Okay, so if you see the diagram, you will find over here that the set result is coming from the second activity, which is having the key inside, which is the result of the summation, and that will be passed to the first activity. Okay, so that has been carried in the intent part. Okay, now we are going to check whether the request code is 999 and the result code is result OK. That means both the acknowledgement has been confirmed. So we are going to fetch the data from the intent, but generally what we do for fetching data from the intent, we use getInt, but this is not going to be only getInt, it will be getInt extra. Okay, because it is coming from another activity to the previous activity. So whatever value it will be fetching, there is a key over here, and initially it will be stored within like this particular key is again going to be numeric value, so it will be represented by 0. So the value which will be fetched will store in the inside this particular variable over here, and then I'm going to perform a toast or perform the display inside my text view belong to the main activity. Okay, so let me run this particular program. If you see over here, I have got the text, so I'm providing a numeric value over here and another numeric value over here. As I click the button, I will be getting the toast as well as the text view result. Here is the text, here is the text view, and here is my toast. Okay, so you successfully show that how data from one activity will come to another activity while it will perform the operation, and then the result of that operation through the help of certain callback methods, it will be sent back to the previous activity. So this is how the process of intercommunication between multiple activities will be taken care with the help of certain methods and with the help of intent and bundle. Okay, and if you see the emulator over here, then you will find something new as well. Over here, if you see, there is a particular kind of special toolbar is over here. If you click this dotted icon, you get to see some menus popping up. If you click this icon, it will show that you have clicked the search, and finally if there is a back arrow, if you click this, the operation will get and it will come to the home screen. Okay, so how that toolbar came in picture, that will be the content of my next video, and I hope that this particular video helped you to understand the intercommunication between activities. Okay, so let's wait for my next video. Until then, have a nice time. Thank you.